Stop. Consider yourself warned. You are about to enter into a place that is not for the faint of heart. It is a place that is rooted in faith and reason. So if you are up for the challenge and are ready to do some spiritual spelunking, you are welcome to try. Welcome to Pat King's Man Cave.
Hi, welcome to my podcast. I'm Pat King. I'm your host. And today I'm going to talk about, what's kind of on our minds. We see it all the time. We hear it and see it in the news. We hear it on the radio. We see it on social media. The culture of destruction, the culture of me, the culture of I want what I want. As children, you do that. You grow up and when you're a baby toddler, it's all about you. You're hungry. Your diaper needs change. You're dirty. You need to be clean. You need to be bathed. You don't want to go to sleep. You need to take a nap. You wake up. You want to be fed. You want to be taken care of. You want to be hugged. You want to be talked to. All sorts of things. It's all about you as a child. And your parents' role is to teach you, that it's not all about you. I mean, there's eventually, they take care of all your needs and they're there to support you and bring you on and teach you everything. And as you get older, you should learn that others are in the world and that you should share. You should, it's if you have 10 of something, giving up one or two to your friend, your sibling, your neighbor to play with isn't going to hurt you. In fact, it'll be rewarding in the end. Not the end, but just because their friendship has your friendship has grown because of your generosity and your sharing. And so when you as you're growing, you learned discipline, you learned consequences for behavior. You've learned that if you want to get ahead, you have to work hard at something. If you want to be good at baseball, I was told that I wanted to be a baseball player. Actually, I wanted to be a pitcher, and I could pitch. I didn't have that high velocity. I couldn't get really up there, but I had good movement on a ball, and I could pitch. I could play. What I had was I was a good hitter, and I was good at third base. I was a good fielder, and I pitched. In high school we played a lot of double headers, and usually I'd play the third baseman during the first game, and then I would come in and pitch the second game. And sorry about that. And I was always told that if I wanted to be good at something, you had to practice as well as you expected to play in a game. In fact, you should practice better than you would want to play in a game. I mean, you know what I mean? You should try harder, because in practice is where you can really hone that skill, learn the ability to have endurance. You throw harder, you run harder, you play harder, you practice harder, where it doesn't really count, but it counts in the end. It counts in the long run. And we're seeing in our culture, but I'm going to title this "The Devil's in the Details." Because what's happening is in this world is we're allowing our society to decide their own truth, not real truth. They're deciding that they're a different gender. And I've talked about this before, and many have talked about this. But really, it comes down to improper education by the parents or by those that have influence on them. There's a reason we're not a Christian society anymore. And at least the majority are not Christian. Yes, it's tolerated, but really, the media doesn't care if we have Christmas and stuff like that. If we celebrate Easter, if we had processions of the Eucharist down our streets in the cities, they don't really care. They don't care about life. They don't. I one time, so I go down and in Boise, Idaho, every January we have a March for Life, and it's cold, it's winter, and it's like a mile and a half, maybe it's 2 miles from the park to the Capitol, and we get a police escort and all this, but you don't get, we get 1,000, 1,500 people show up. It's pretty good turnout for a cold winter, and a lot of our pro-life people have gone back to Washington, D.C. to march in the annual march back there, which, is a big deal. You go back there, Students for Life, but Knights of Columbus show up, and Catholics, and I think the majority of them are Catholics, but then you have those that aren't, that are just pro-life. But the media, won't report on it. You get one. We got 3 or 4 news stations in this area, and maybe one will say something, maybe 2. They may take a few pictures, but they always, a few hundred people show up when there's over 1,000, 1,500. I think last year we had a really good crowd. It was because of the Roe versus Wade decision coming up, the Dobbs decision, and the fact that we were hopeful, leaked out that it was possibly going to be changed, turned over, but we were hopeful. So it was a little bit more vibrant crowd. Maybe, our nights kind of lead with the banners. We follow a coffin, and we go up the stairs, and we're at the top, and I can see the crowd, and we probably had 15, 1,800 people in the whole area, downtown area, and which was unusual. We had a lot of police presence, and maybe there were threats. I didn't hear about that, but there was probably a lot more, probably 3 times as many police officers there than in the past. Standing, they put up barricades for the first time ever, and we had one small group from the university, probably 18 to 25 people, were marching, and they were chanting I couldn't even make it out, chanting something. They're all young kids. Like I heard this when I was young, and I was a little more open-minded when I was growing up. I thought, okay, in the case of rape and incest and all that, and the case of mother's life and all that, I was a little like that. But as I got older, I medical science. I mean, after what they did to save my son, all the procedures they did for my son, the things they've done for my eye, all the progress they've made medically, and all the things you can see a fetus, and get a picture of a fetus at 6 weeks, and you can see it almost fully formed, and it's amazing. And it's when you pull it back to its normal size, it's small, it's tiny, and I don't even think the naked eye can see it. Of course, how would you see it? But it's amazing what science has done. So over time and over the years, that argument, it's dumb. It's gone away. There's the cases. I mean, they've got so many FBI reports and stuff. The data isn't in that it's only happening in case of incest and rape. If that was the case, we wouldn't even be at 10 million abortions, and it's just a ridiculous argument. Okay, so, but the culture, you're going to worship something. If you're not worshiping God, if you don't believe in God, you're going to end up worshiping something, and whether it be the Democrat Party or Buddhists or something, people have this yearning to seek a higher authority, a higher calling, they know that they're not it. And they know there's something up there, but they get lost and in the fray. They get lost in the culture out there because there's so many people that for example, if you're not convinced that there's a God and you are kind of wishy-washy on your beliefs, anyone can. I mean, look at the Jim Jones. Look how many people followed Jim Jones from across America to San Francisco and then down to South Africa or wherever. I don't even remember, not South Africa, but Venezuelan or something, like wherever he was in South America. And he convinced everybody to drink poisoned Kool-Aid and die. And all the cults, Manson, look at the influence. So we can't see God, so we worship someone that is very charismatic and convincing. And I don't get that. I don't believe most people. I believe my priest, but you know what I'm saying is that if someone is, I have critical thinking. I can think for myself. I was taught to think and figure things out and analyze and decide. And so believing in God makes sense. It's easy. It's really simple. There's billions and billions of people over 2,000 years that have written about God, have talked about the miracles, have talked about the intervention, have seen all. The miracle of the dancing sun in Fatima and the Eucharistic miracles. Carlo Acunas has cataloged a lot of those, if not all of them. And he was 15. I mean, come on. He knew right away. That kid knew it right away. And he with the internet and all that, he figured out, he came up with a way to catalog all the miracles and put it all together, and all the information's there. And so I said once to a priest, I said, I think faith is easy. We make it complicated. It's just like Christ said, the innocence of children have it. They understand it. When you're a child, you believe in something out there, something better than yourself, bigger than yourself, something innate created you. You look up to mom and dad. And it's in that time, if your mom and dad don't teach you about God, don't teach you about faith, don't teach you about the love of Jesus Christ, you're going to go seek it elsewhere. You're going to go find something. Everybody does. And everybody's going to find something that they can relate to. And some people find, unless they believe there is no God, and that's what I find contradictory, is that some people say, well, God made a mistake with me. So you believe there's a God, and you believe you can change yourself to something else. You've got an Audi, but you want to make an Innie. Being polite, I don't know who's watching this. I think this is my I'd like to have more people watch and listen to the show, but here's the thing: you can't take what the culture says out there at face value. You've got to know that there's a devil behind it. The devil's in the details. Yeah, he's not out there pulling strings, but he's not stopping. He's going to encourage the discouragement, the chaos. People sit there and say, why do I suffer all the time? It's because you don't look to God. You're not asking God for an intervention. And then if he does, when you have good times, you're not thanking God for those good times. You're not engage with God on a regular basis, it's not that God says, oh, you're ignoring me, I'm going to make bad things happen. No, that's not the case. It's just that if you're not communicating with God on a regular basis and you're not knowing, you don't recognize the things that are blessings and good things, love, charity, the urgings, when he's not directing your path, if you're not paying attention, if you're not talking to him, if you're not praying to him, if you're not constantly focused on the things that God has blessed you with, then when you're suffering and then you call out to God, you wouldn't recognize his voice. I'm just saying from my own point of view, when I was angry with God, when I struggled with God during the life of my son early on, and I was at his bedside and we were told he was going to die and this and that. And every surgery we had was terrible for him. It was hard on him. And I spent time at his bedside and I was angry with God for this trouble, this burden, this suffering. I didn't pay it because I was so angry and mad. I didn't hear God saying, I'll lift you up. I'm here. Rely on me. We'll get through this. He gave me the strength, and he gave me the strength. It's after the fact, many, many, many years later, when I actually started writing my book, that I realized how I made it through all those tough times. And it wasn't on my own doing. Trust me, I was a weak and frail, angry guy that I was burdened with a child like Lance. And here I am. But I never gave up hope. I never doubted. I was angry. I knew God would help. I just didn't know how or when, or, if this was just part of my suffering, my punishment, whatever. I was all into myself. It was all about myself. But I did turn to my son for his care dutifully. And I think God really came through for me on that, and my son. But the point I'm getting at is this culture that we're facing out there is that there's a lot of people trying to distract and persuade you away from God, to tell you there is no God. They don't talk about God. They've eliminated God. They've taken that out of the conversation. You don't get a chance to have people you respect, educators with authority, tell you anything good. It's all secular. It's all you can do it. It's all on you. If it goes bad, you did something. It's what the old Jews used to think. If you did something bad, you were a sinner. Your parents were a sinner. If you were born blind, your parents sinned. And that's not the case. That is definitely not the case. My son was not born the way he was because of my sin or my wife's sin or us marrying improperly out of the church and all that stuff. It was not have anything to do with that. It's out of the billions of people. If I was to be given a special child if I think God chose me to bear this child, to have this child, because I needed it. And he knew I'd be good to this child. And that this child's life was 12 years. Maybe it was longer than he was supposed to have. Who knows? But 12 years, I learned a whole heck of a lot. And maybe, I may live to be 90, 100. I mean, my dad was an alcoholic and a smoker all his life. He was an angry, ornery, very negative person, very narcissistic person. Still loved my dad, but he lived to be 88 years old. I mean, he had open heart surgery and heart medication, and he was still drinking like crazy, getting drunk while taking heart medication. I said, you're never going to get better if you keep drinking. And he lived to be 88 years old. And I'm not saying I'm pure. I drink. I don't smoke. Never have. Don't do drugs. I don't drink like my dad would drink to get drunk. And good heavens, if I live to be 88 years old, which is another 27 years, I may live to be 100 because maybe God isn't done fixing me. I've got a lot to, or because my son's life changed my life so much that I'm sharing his life with others so that you can have a better life. And I know that I've had a better life because my son lived. And I know my son's life has really helped others with understanding charity and compassion and finding the beauty in someone who's not perfect or normal like them. So this culture wants to destroy your the devil always wants to destroy. That's its only joy. He gets great pleasure out of your discomfort, your chaos, your misery. And he only benefits from it when you give in to it. When you let that misery happen and let it control your life. I let it control my life. I let the misery for the first year and a half or so of my son's life, I let that misery control my life. And it was miserable. I was cranky. I was unhappy. I yelled and screamed. I was distraught. And then once I realized that it was a gift and a blessing, it changed my life. It taught me things and I'm still learning. I'm still learning. That's why God's not done with me yet. I'm still learning. But the devil doesn't care if you succeed. He hopes you fail. In fact, again, I had this discussion with a friend of mine one time. We were sitting at the table. He had done some work on my house. He's a good friend. I've known him for over 30, almost coming up on 40 years now. And we were sitting at my house. We were drinking a beer. It's just like that old song, sitting around, drinking beer, talking God, amen. And we were talking God. And we were talking about the force of the devil. And I said, the devil doesn't have any force on you. All it wants to do is stir the pot. All the devil wants to do is make you feel guilty about a sin that you've already confessed and asked for forgiveness on and given absolution. He wants to. It's like St. Paul was talking about that thorn in his side that he couldn't get rid of. It's because the devil kept nagging him, kept reminding him of his sin, and he kept hanging on to that sin because the thorn was in his side, and that's what he was talking about, is that sin. That he I can't say it the way he does eloquently, but he didn't want to do the things that he didn't like. But he ended up doing the things he didn't like anyway. And he didn't know why. It's that thorn. Because we're human, we're fallen. We tend to cave into that simpler. Oh, trust me. One day, you're going to find that, to heck with it. I'm just going to drink beer till I can't drink anymore. You're just going to give in to the day. You're going to give in to the chaos. You're going to give in to because it's easy. It's easier to sin. Trust me, I'm reading a book by Dr. Sri about the art of living and the virtues. Oh my gosh. I'm going, Dr. Sri, stop pointing a finger at me. Stop it. Because it's like, where was this book 25, 30 years ago? I'd probably still be married today. We aren't taught virtuous anymore. We aren't taught to be virtuous. We aren't taught virtues. We aren't taught about the understanding. The words get diluted when they use them, like hero gets used all the time anymore. Oh, the guy saved a dog. He's a hero. He's a hero. No, he helped the dog get out of the street. Whatever. Doesn't make it a miraculous hero. Risking your life to save someone from a drowning from a river and or drowning in a car, whatever. That's heroic. Risking your own life. But, we just call a hero for taking a cat out of a tree. Come on. Hero, the word hero used to really mean something. Just like love used to really mean something. That's why you need to learn the 4 Greek words for love. and understand that there's a definite, I love pizza. Okay. Doesn't mean I want to hug it every night before I go to bed. You know, I like to eat pizza. It likes me too. I like pasta. I like Italian food. I like to eat. Let's just say it. If you're watching this, you can see I've eaten a lot of food. I like to cook. I'm a good cook. I like to eat. I try to work, lose weight, but hey, it's what it is. But the devil doesn't care if you're distraught. Anyway, so my friend and I were sitting around the table. We were talking about God, talking about how, he goes, oh, the devil wants to hit you over the head. No, the devil. No, I said, Dean, I said, love you, buddy. But no, I think it's God hitting you over the head with a 2x4. He's the only one that cares if you're falling. He's the only one that cares if you're screwing up. The devil loves it. He's cheering, come on, you can do it. Go ahead. Have that adulterous affair you want to. You know you do. Yeah, you love your wife. You say that, but this is going to be fun. Or go out and rob that bank. You need some extra money. You need another watch. Or, yeah, okay, you need to feed your kids. So working's not cutting it. You don't want to do anything to improve your life. So you can't go steal that. Go rob that liquor store. Go rob that bank. Devil doesn't care if you fail. He's on the sideline cheering you on. God is the only one that's going to hit you upside the head with a 2x4 and say, knock it off, you dummy. I don't want you to go down that path. I want you to be with me. I want you to live a virtuous life. I want you to live a life of freedom from the chaos. You go down that road, you're going to have more chaos. It may be a quick answer, but it's not an answer. It's a false answer, because you get caught, you go to jail, you're going to be in prison. Now your family's really struggling. What are you going to do about that? It's too late. You're going to mess up your life. Why? For what? Some money? Turn to me. Come to me, God says. Come to me. Find solace in me. Find peace. And when you're doing that every day, regardless if it's good or bad day, if you're doing it every day, and you're paying attention, when you're focused on God, when you're focused on that purpose, then things tend to get good. You get better. Opportunities open up because you're listening to God. You're listening to the input. You're aware of when something good comes your way and not always trying to find the easy way out of it. If you're at a bar drinking and you shouldn't be, that's God saying, and your conscience is telling you shouldn't be here. Get up, leave, get out of there. That's what I mean. You're going to be worshiping something, whether you want to worship God or you want to worship the devil. If you're not worshiping God, anything else is the devil. Okay? You worship money, it's wrong. It's the devil. It's the lie. The devil's not so much of a being as a lie. It's that anything that takes you away from a relationship with Jesus Christ. I know. I've been down that road. I've struggled. I've had my own sinful life. I've had my own challenges in my life with pornography I'll leave it at that. But I know you're talking to yourself. Men talk to themselves. I don't know if women do. I know men talk to themselves. Men soul search. They talk to themselves. They have a conscience. They're thinking about things. They're thinking about whether they're mulling things over all the time. They're always thinking of themselves. And they always think they're not worthy. They think they're incapable or inadequate. And you're not. You are a child of God. And with the power of God behind you, you can do all things through God. But you got to let him lead. He's got to be the guy you consult with every day. Through prayers, through scriptures, through reading anything. Books on faith, books on virtue, books on the Bible. Going to mass regularly, going to confession regularly. I used to be just once a year confession. I've got it down to at least 4 or 5 times a year. I'd like to go more often. I'm working my way into, hey, I'm like anybody else. I really don't like going to confession. But when I'm done, I really liked going to confession. It was great. This last time I went to confession face to face at a men's retreat, and Father Keller, he's an older, I think he's a retired priest, very animated, very passionate about confession. I mean, he lets you just have a conversation. You talk about the things you're challenged with and the things you're confessing, the things you want to forgive. And he's just so exuberant, so excited, so happy that you're coming, that God is the answer. Yes, and God is the answer. Trust me, God is the answer. Jesus Christ is the answer. The devil's not the answer. The devil, the cultural problems we're having, if you look back at it, you can tell it's the devil has his hands in the chaos because he's turning the screws. He's lying to the people that are making these bad decisions, going for abortion, finding it okay, changing your sex because you were born in a wrong body. Doesn't happen. Never will. If you look at your chromosomes, you're XX or XY. That's it. Okay. It's everything else is a mental condition. It's a lack of God condition. Yes, there are people that have true mental issues. This Dylan Mulvaney, I think he's a mental case. Either that, he's a very good con man. I mean, I'll just bet. He goes home, he looks at his bank account going, guys, you guys are suckers. Man, I'm raking in the dough. I don't care how weird I am. I'm getting rich off you suckers. I'm getting people thinking I'm a woman and letting me advertise for women's cosmetics and woman of the year and all this other crap because you're so woke. You're so woke that you're going to take me and put me on your campaign for lingerie or women's cosmetic. I don't even know all that but I tell you what, Budweiser really blew it. Bud Light really blew it when they put his face on a can and made him a spokesman, even as temporary as it was. It has cost them billions and billions. They closed down a whole bottling plant for Bud Light. 400 jobs were lost. I feel sorry for those people. They had nothing to do with it. It was woke people who were delusional, who had a terrible idea and went with it and probably got paid a lot of money to do it. And then, of course, you don't see them anymore. I think they got canned, but they probably got bought off to leave. So they ended up with money anyway. So the devil is in the details. If you're not worshiping God, you will worship something. And don't let worshiping anything be what you want or what you have. I know, men, if you're a real man out there, you're talking to yourself, you're thinking, what I'm seeing out there in the culture is wrong. Someone should do something about it. You're the someone. I'm doing something. I'm doing what I can. I live in a little town in Idaho. I'm self-employed. I have a farm. I work all the time. I volunteer a lot. I'm part of the Knights of Columbus. I'm doing this podcast, these radio shows that I'm doing, the men's leadership. I'm starting men's ministries all across the state of Idaho. I'm helping to start them anyway. I'm part of the evangelization faith formation team. I'm doing everything I can. I taught confirmation. I'm doing what I can. And if you care about your country, if you're a Catholic, if you're a Protestant, you should be Catholic, but if you're a Protestant, serve your church, serve your community, serve your parish. Get out there, march at the pro-life. Join us for a rosary. Join us at Planned Parenthood for 40 Days for Life. We do it twice a year. We do it in the spring and in the fall. Join us. Be a part of the solution. Help nip all those problems in the bud. But it takes actions. It takes numbers. Look what happened with Bud Light. Bud Light, what happened? People stopped buying it. They were tired of the crap being shoved down there. I'm going to drink a beer with Dylan Mulvaney's face on it. Yeah, not going to happen. Not going to happen. Sorry. I used to drink Bud Light. Ain't going to happen. Not in I went back to my childhood beer. The beer you drink when you're a kid, you get away with. I'm drinking Miller Lite again. Okay. Now I probably, I don't know. I try to check all the politics, but I was one of the only guys. I don't know if anyone else, no one would join me. I was out there for 6 months at Dick's Sporting Goods every Sunday after church with a sign. And I said this in my last podcast. I did that every Sunday for 6 months. And I got a lot of thumbs up. I got a lot of support. I also got probably 10 times more FUs and the birds. Usually they drove by in a hurry and said something out the window as they even ran the stop sign that was not far from where I was. And they'd flip me the bird or tell me, "You're not a woman." And then I said one time, "I identify as one." Just to tweak them. But if you're not doing something, you're part of the problem. Fill that out, point blank, you're part of the problem. Because inaction allows the problems to happen. Now, when Dylan Mulvaney did that thing, people took action. Beer sales dropped. They started shooting their cans up. They started throwing them in the trash. Restaurants stopped serving them. Bars stopped serving them. The sales went down immediate. It was an immediate response. So yes, numbers make a difference. We're gonna this coming October, there's gonna be a rosary across the country on the 14th of October. Everybody should be out even if you're not Catholic. Join them in praying. There is strength in numbers. And then we're going to be, I think, not quite sure when it's taking place. I got to look at the dates. But there's going to be a national procession of the Eucharist across our country. And we're doing more and more of that throughout our Knights of Columbus councils, our meetings. Parishes are starting to do more and more of that. We need to bring Jesus out into the public. And if you're a Protestant listening to the show, bring Jesus Christ out into the public. Quit hiding him inside your church. We need to go out to the community. Men, don't leave it to your wives to do that. Sorry, but they're not strong enough to do it. They're not strong enough to face the vitriol they're going to get by people that are going to say very bad things in front of your wife and your children. You want your wife and children to hear all that, and you're not going to be out there supporting them. Find a way to do something, to participate. Without men, there'd be no battles won. You need to be a warrior for Christ, a warrior for your family, a warrior for your church, a warrior for God in this country. And it's a weird group of people that are causing all the problems now. It's just like that song. I did a podcast the other day on Jason Aldean's "Try That in a Small Town." We need to make this country a very small town across the country with huge numbers of Christians across this country, Christian men standing up saying that's not going to happen anymore. You're not going to burn our town down. You're not going to steal cars from little old ladies. You're not going to drive by on a bicycle and cold cock someone just because it's fun. You're not going to break into our stores and steal stuff and just walk out and not paying for stuff. It needs to stop. It needs to stop. I know if you're a decent human being, you don't like it, you hate it, you want to stop. You need to do something about it. Okay? You need to do something. You need to stand up, step into the breach. Show them what real manhood, real masculine men are. Quit being the inaction is the toxic masculinity, not the overt action, the inaction. That's what toxic, because You just don't have enough testosterone to do anything about it. I'm sorry, but it's true. I'm 61 years old. I'm still battling it out there. I don't feel 61, trust me. And I've been battling this for a very long time, and I need support. I need more of you out there. I'm going to lend my voice. I'm going to lend my at radios. I'm going to promote what I can. I'm going to do what I can. But I tell you what, if I had 100 more behind me, do you think, we can get done with 100 men? Antifa's not going to touch us. Those weirdos out there, those transgenders, the wimpy mayors, we need to vote those people out. You need to take action. You need to know what you want. Pray to God you're doing the right thing and stand up. And with that, say goodbye. In the name of the Father, Son, Holy Spirit. Amen.
Saint Michael the Archangel, defend us in battle. Be our protection against the wickedness and snares of the devil. May God rebuke him, we humbly pray. And do thou, O Prince of the heavenly host, by the power of God, cast into hell Satan and all the evil spirits who prowl about the world seeking the ruin of souls. Amen. In the name of the Father, and the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen.
We hope you've enjoyed this episode of Pat King's Man Cave, a weekly podcast discussing the issues that affect Catholic men in today's culture. A product of Salt and Light Catholic Radio in Boise, Idaho. To learn more about our ministry, please visit our website at saltandlightradio.com.